In this video, I'm going to walk you through the most critical Zoom settings that you'll need simply to get started using Zoom, and I'm going to try to avoid talking at length about each individual setting. So I'm just going to get you there first. In Chrome, head to zoom.us, and then when you click Sign In the top right here, make sure you scroll down to the Sign In with Google button. So sign in with Google, and then you might have to choose your account or type in your email and password, or if you've been here before, it might take you directly into the page here. I'm going to go directly to settings in the left column there. And then I'm just going to point out that there are these quick links that just basically scroll you down the page. So I'll try to remember to use those. But first thing here, waiting room, you might want to use the waiting room for your classes. And then under Edit Options, you can set the options to only send to the waiting room users who are not in your account. And that way, for sure, other teachers will skip past the waiting room and join the meeting directly. I'm not sure yet if that applies to students. Hopefully the students will also be able to skip the waiting room. But the idea of keeping that waiting room on is so that anyone who's not in our system will go to the waiting room, and you'll be able to let them in if you want to, but you'll have the option to not let them in. Who can admit participants? I limited that ability to hosts and co-hosts only. You can set that whichever way you like. The passcode options, if you want to use passcodes, you certainly can. You might want to use the passcode instead of the waiting room. That's entirely up to you. I thought it would just get way too confusing to have links or to have meeting identification numbers and also passcodes, so I turned those off. I'm going to skip all the way down to schedule meeting. Again, I could have clicked that link to scroll down to schedule meeting. You have some decisions to make about videos. Audio type, I would leave that on telephone and computer audio, just in case students need to use the telephone for some reason. First big one here, join before host, turn that off. You do not want students to join your meeting whenever they want. You need to be there first. These next few are also critical. Enable personal meeting ID should be on. Use personal meeting ID when schedule a meeting should be on. Use personal meeting when starting an instant meeting should be on. You can decide about muting participants or reminders. Require encryption for third-party endpoints. That should be off. Private chat should be off. This will allow students to send private messages back and forth in the Zoom without you seeing those messages. So even if you have enabled chat, you should turn private chat off. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further here. I think that sound notifications being on is important if you're going to use the waiting room. It's very difficult to notice when someone enters the waiting room, but if you turn that sound notification on, you'll hopefully hear it. And if you decide to play the sound for everyone, then your students might be able to tell you if you miss it. If you're in the middle of a lesson, you might not hear the ding, but one of your students might hear the ding and can tell you, hey, somebody's in the waiting room. I'm going to scroll down again. Co-host, I think you'll want to have co-host on, just in case you have another teacher or another professional in the room who, or outside of the room, who you want to give co-hosting power to. I think you'll want to have polling on in case you want to ask questions and share the results. Show Zoom windows during screen share, that should be on, and screen sharing should be on. I'm just going to scroll down a little further. Disable desktop screen share for users should therefore be off. I don't know why they give you both sides of that coin, but I'm going to set it so that screen sharing is on and disabling is off. Annotation. One thing I would say about annotation, if you decide to turn it on, make sure you check the box that says only the user who is sharing can annotate. That box makes sure that only one person can annotate and you know who that one person is. If you uncheck that box or if you leave it unchecked, anyone can annotate, they can write or draw anything they want, and you'll have no idea who did it. Whiteboard should be turned on. Remote control, there are two places where you can turn remote control off. I suggest turning it off in both places. I'm going to scroll. Allow removed participants to rejoin. You do want that on, and this is because you might accidentally remove a student, or you might remove a student who's behaving poorly, and if you have this turned off, that student will never be able to rejoin, and you do want them to eventually rejoin. So I've turned that on so that removed participants can rejoin, which also has some issues, but at least you can deal with those issues instead of just locking the person out forever. All right, I'm going to scroll down a little further. Breakout rooms. So I've gone down into in-meeting advanced. Breakout rooms, you definitely want to turn that on. And then I would also check the box that says allow host to assign. All these you can make decisions about. They're not critical. All right, we're getting all the way down to the bottom here. Let's see. We might be finished. This request permission to unmute was a longer discussion in the longer comprehensive meeting, comprehensive video. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. But it's not critical, so I'm not going to talk about it here. And email notifications, yeah, so good. These are all options that you can consider. But I think we're finished with all of the critical settings. Good luck.